you want everyone to feel acknowledged and not like it's just the property of one person. I mean, when you really think about, for example, a wedding image, majority of the time, and this is typically the hope, that image is owned by the bride and groom, or the bride and bride or the groom and groom. You know, it's like it's their image, it's their day. And a lot of times the photographers will want it to be owned by them because they took the picture. And so as long as you have an understanding of what you want out of your special day, and if you want the rights to your photograph, some photographers are completely on board with that, and others, you know, it is a piece of art for their portfolio. And so as long as you just have the transparency, that's what's important. But then you also have so many other things that go into that image, you know, like you have the dress, you have the hair and makeup, you have the accessories. And I really do see it as this team effort. And with Instagram, what I think is great is it gives you the opportunity to give credit to everyone, you know? And so that's what I've always tried to do, is to make people feel acknowledged. And as long as people are feeling represented, I think that's what's important. But it's when you get these, if there's hidden agendas, or if there is an attempt to, you know, I'm going to get them on this later. It's like going into a partnership like that, or a piece of art. It's never really what you want. You want to be working with people that want to give credit and want everyone to feel a part of it. And not that it's just like owned by one thing and, you know, they can come get you, you know? So just speaking generally, and from my opinion, like that's kind of where I stand. And going forward, that's kind of what I want to champion.
I love that. Yeah. Cause it's like things are changing where, one, if something does come out that is bad or feels weird or feels icky to how we're moving as like society wise, like we usually call it out. Right. Or like if, you know, I'll use a fake example, but if like Whole Foods started selling plastic straws again, right, for the right price, you know, we're like, no, what's that? You know, people who are against that might be, people might be weird or whatever, all that kind of stuff. And you're like, what's going on? And, you know, people want the people they buy from, you know, people they know, like, and trust, right, as business people, to like, there needs to be accountability, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be, everything is public, but like you need to have a good answer for a lot of questions, you know, and be ready and be transparent and be willing to that, because like what we've seen as society, you know, I always think there's people who, I'm an optimist, but there's definitely an element where people, you know, even ourselves will be prone to do a bad thing, or be prone to do the bad thing if there weren't guidelines and restrictions, or, you know, speeding in your car or whatever. Like it's fun to drive a vehicle, right? Like, but there is an element of that transparency that we want to have and we look for, and millennials are looking for. And then, support. Like, I think the first time I got approached I took a photo of a couple in front of a mural here in DC, and it was cool. And like, it was doing great on Instagram. And, you know, in my mind, I was like, that was marketing, right, for our company. And then the mural artist found it and said, hey, will you credit me for the mural behind it?
Oh, and,
I had never, I think there was like part of me that was like, what? You know, honestly, like instantly I was like, what's going on here? And I had to like go back and forth at that time, thinking like, you know, in reality, I wouldn't have taken or posted this photo if the mural wasn't there.
Right.
You know, so I'm like, I needed the mural person. But then I was like, when it goes to weddings and it's like dresses, I was like, oh, they would have worn something, right? Unless they're not wearing anything.
Right.
Which is a different kind of photography, but whatever. But I'm like, but again, it's like, what do I want in the world? Like you just said. And it's like, I want dress designers to feel hype too. I want florists to feel hype. I want everybody, you know, and it's like, I ask for all those annoying questions, you know, for my couples. I'm like, hey, who did your dress? Who did your jewelry? Who did all this? Because I'm like, you know, we're in the celebration business. So like, let's celebrate, you know, what's happening and celebrate everybody and celebrate this team, you know, like from the florist to the designer to the venue, whatever. So now for the most part, I'm not perfect at it, but I try to pop some credit, you know, for everybody, because it's usually people you want to work with again.
Yeah.
Like, this life is too short for us to like start and end tiny relationships every year, or wedding season or corporate season or working season, to be like I'm in my 30s now, and I'm like, let's just have friends for a long time, you know. Like, it sounds dumb, but I'm like, let's keep great people around. I don't know, so that's a little blabbing, but I get where you're coming from.
Yeah, and it's community driven for sure, but to your point earlier, I think people are looking for purpose and a social awareness, because even if you're not really impassioned with politics or, you're not outspoken, it doesn't mean you have to be forced into that. But I do think that businesses now do have a responsibility of making people feel acknowledged and included. And however you can do that and whatever makes sense for you, it's worth incorporating. And it's interesting because it really has changed over the short period of time. And I think social media has helped in that aspect, because this idea of call out culture, it can obviously be a very scary thing, but at the same time, it really is holding people accountable, and it makes you think in advance, okay, what is my footprint here and how do I want to make people feel? And yes, we want to share creativity and our products and our, what we're doing with our lifestyles, but we also want to connect with people. The first part of social media is social, and the connection of people is the most important aspect of that, I think.